Okay.
All right, here I go. Good morning or afternoon, wherever you're watching this or viewing this, and whenever you're watching or viewing this. Thank you very much for joining another Phoenix Contact Automation webinar. My name is Zachary Stank. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for the Control, Safety, and I/O products here in the United States. Joining us today, we'll have Jason Haldeman. He's our Senior Product Specialist for I/O and Gateways. Before we get started, I want to make sure to take a few points under consideration for everyone. First of all, if you're watching this live, there is a Q&A that you can ask questions to Jason directly. Just type in your question and then hit submit. We'll be reviewing those as they come up. There is a 20-second delay from when we're broadcasting to when we will see any Q&A. So if there's something that you ask and we don't answer it right away, please know that we will come back to the Q&A afterwards and answer your questions at the end of the presentation. The second thing is that if you haven't already, you can sign up for additional webinars. They're at our website, www.phoenixcontact.com/US-webinars. I am posting that as an announcement right now. So if you haven't signed up yet, you can sign up to view more of these live, or you can go back and review any of the previous webinars as a recorded live stream. So you can view anything that we've done previously. I believe we have about 10 as of the production of this one. So if there's anything that you had missed or you want to review again, please don't hesitate to view those. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jason, and he's going to tell us about I/O selection made easy with freeware software. So take it away, Jason.
Oh, thank you, Zach. So what I'd like to do is spend the next couple of minutes introducing you to a software tool. It's been around for a while. It doesn't get utilized as heavily as I think it, because a lot of people don't understand what all they can do with this software utility. So what I wanted to do today is just give a quick overview of the software, show you where you can get it, so you can download it and go ahead and start using it for whenever you need to set up a either inline or axial line I/O station. So number one is the software. You have to find it on our website. The easiest thing to do is to go to our website and just search the name project with the plus sign at the end of it. Once you run new search, you'll see a little download tab underneath, and here you can actually download the latest version of the software, download it, install it, and then you can run with it there. The software actually does also show up under the download tabs of any one of our inline or axial line products because it's associated to those products also. So either way, you can go ahead and download the software to get yourself started. Once you've installed the software and you go ahead and launch it, this is the base screen you're going to see. So when you're setting up the software, the first thing you need to know, when you're trying to get into an I/O configuration, of course, is it going to be an inline or an axial line station that you want to configure? The great part about it is you can build the same configuration in both inline and axial line to kind of see how the stations look in either form factors and determine which may work best for your application, whether you're doing this for yourself as being the end customer because it's a free software for them, or if you're the distributor or you're the Phoenix Contact salesman, any level can use this software and then pass the project around between people to be able to have further evaluations of it. But for this example, I figure we'll start directly in with an axial line F I/O station. You'll also notice it also supports the controllers, because whether with the axial line product family, whether you're talking control or whether you're talking just remote I/O, it is still the same I/O that's associated to it. The real key difference is just the head station that you're placing on the front. So the software tool will allow you to create a PLC Next I/O station, one of our standard controller I/O stations, or a bus coupler with as a remote I/O station. So for this, we'll just go with a bus coupler for the remote I/O station because there's more selections behind it. So step one, I know I want to build an axial line station, so I'll go ahead and I click bus coupler with networked I/O. Once I click on that, it's going to open up to a window and it's going to default in with a bus coupler. Now for this software, it's going to default with the Profinet BK, but for my application, I want to do, let's say, Ethernet IP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here on the bottom right-hand corner, and I'm going to switch this up to Ethernet IP. So now my bus coupler switched to the Ethernet IP. With the Ethernet IP variants, now I can go through and decide what type of I/O do I want to add into this network. Now, we understand if you're a Phoenix employee, you've dealt with the I/O for a while, you may want or know what specific I/O you should use or you want to use inside of your application, but we understand that some people may not know which module they should choose. So they've broken this down into two different selections. First, you have the device tabs where I can select physical I/O modules that I know I want to use, or I can go under the signal tabs and I can just select what type of I/O signals that I want. So I'm going to go under the signal tabs for the first example here, and I'm going to just select DI. So I want a digital input. So you can see here, it immediately goes in and goes, all right, I want one digital input. So to add that, I'm going to put in one of our new 16-channel smart elements. So that'll give me it'll give me 16 digital inputs, but it'll fill my current need of one digital input. Then I can go under digital outputs and do the same thing. I have, again, one digital output. But the cool part here is once I've established the signal and I/O type, then I can go underneath and adjust the physical number of inputs that I need, because maybe I have a high density of digital inputs that I need. Let's say I need 80 digital inputs at this I/O station. I can simply enter the number of digital inputs I need, and it'll adjust the associated I/O modules to fit that specific need. Same with our analog outputs, or digital outputs. I'll go ahead and select 80 for that. So now you can see I have an I/O station that covers both my digital input and my digital output needs. And then I can even go one step further. By default, it is going to choose our highest density, lowest cost options. But in my application, maybe I don't always want the highest density. With the highest density input modules, I'm only going to give you a single terminal for your digital inputs. Maybe I don't want that. Maybe I want the extra 24-volt connections, or I want some of the extra 24-volt and ground connections for my input signal. So what can I do? When I highlight this little blue box for the digital inputs, I can go down here and say, you know what? I need a 2-wire connection. I want this I/O module to provide me these extra connections. Now you can see it dramatically increases the size of the I/O station, but what it does is it saves me terminals and other locations if my application needs these type of terminals. So I can select whether I have them or I don't have them, and the I/O station will automatically adjust for it. And what it'll also do is you can go one step further, because the I/O station in the end will actually, it'll give me a current draw for the individual I/O station, so I know what size power supply I need. So I could go to the digital outputs and I can actually adjust how much current draw each output will draw. Now, it will assume all outputs on all the time. So it is going to assume that type of characteristic in your system, which may not be completely accurate, but at least you can go in there and adjust. Well, if I hit a situation where I fire every output at the exact same time, then I can dictate that, all right, so 100 milliamps, I could go, it's 200 milliamps, and it may adjust the power distribution that I need and how I space the modules out because of the maximum current draw for the individual modules. This is a great feature inside of the software, so it won't let you do anything that you can't do, or won't allow you to break any rules. So here I have my basic I/O station. Now let's go one step further and go, I want to add some analog I/O to this. So now I'm going to switch to the device view because I want to be specific. I want to add this analog input module, and I could simply drag and drop it into the configuration. It also adds its measurement into the thing, but it allows you that flexibility to drag and drop and build the system that you need. And when you highlight the individual modules, you get some breakdown of what those modules are if you want to see some more in-depth information on the individual products. This is really a great tool. It gives you everything you really need to help generate a great bill of materials list specifically for the product offering. Then let's say I'm done. This is all I needed for my configuration for this station. I could click on the little results tab here. When I click on that, I can actually see a little Excel breakdown of the available parts. If I highlight in any one of these cells and right click and do a copy, I can actually get this to open correctly. I can go, let me drag this in. So here I have a blank worksheet. I can then paste, and I have a breakdown of all the individual parts that I need so that I can create a bill of materials list for myself or something that I can submit for a purchase. I can even go one step further. I'll drag this off the screen, and I can go to my station representation, and I can copy the station construction, and I can paste this also as an image. So if I wanted to be able to supply an image of that station along with the configuration, I could put these two together to create a bill of materials list with a graphic to show somebody what this station will look like if they want to go ahead and purchase this variation, and along with the total dimensions that the unit will run on the rails. Now, if you don't want to use it in Excel or you don't want to copy it into a Word document, you can also go as far as doing a print of it, and you can print this to a PDF. So if I go to the results, there's a documentation view. In the documentation view, you can give your project a name and some descriptive information for it. And then you can go do a file and print. If you print it to a PDF, I'll just call this test. Stick it on my desktop so I can find it. As you can see, I've done this a few times before. Now when I open it up on my desktop, you can scroll through and I can actually see a little graphic representation of the entire station, a breakdown of the different signal types that I need, a graphic picture, and a breakdown of all the individual parts with the descriptions of what is associated with those individual parts as a part of it. So it gives you a little bit more detailed information that you can then go out and physically print or print to a PDF so that you can pass this on or save this for your records as you may need for the applications. And then last, of course, is we understand that you're not always going to have a single station. You may need to add a new station, or you may need to do multiple stations. So you can simply go under the station tab, click new station, and then you can go and create a secondary station. When you're doing your secondary station, maybe for station 1, we wanted axial line. For station 2, maybe we want to go with something a little bit different. Maybe we want to go with an inline station. All you simply need to do is to go down here under your IO type and select inline, because we're past that initial first screen. So we could switch. Now we're switching over and we're showing an inline bus coupler. Same type concept. The software is going to go through and allow you to physically drag and drop IO modules into the configuration, or again, the way I prefer, just to go in, select the signal types that I want. I have DI and DO. Again, I'll do 16 in. And it selects the IO modules that I need that fits into this variation the most. And again, all the same settings are still there and available. I could select my digital outputs to have the extra ground connections. I'm going to go to my digital inputs and I'm going to say I want a 3-wire connection for there. And you can see it increases or decreases the IO size. So you can see how much rail space you would use if the 24-volt and ground connections were built into the IO, or if you don't need these connections and you just want to go back to the highest density option and then get those power and ground connections for somewhere else. And then, of course, the other feature with the inline, there's a little bit more in the rules and what you have to follow as to how many modules you can plug together versus current draw, so that if you're drawing too much current on the outputs, you may have to insert power modules. So for this example, if I go to the DOs and I go, you know what, I want every one of these digital outputs to be a true 500 milliamps. Well, if I do that, I'm actually going to exceed the 8 amps max output current on the backplane, and I'm going to need to insert one of these power slices in there to refresh that backplane power. So Now I know I'll need one of these power inserts. Let's say I increase my outputs to 32. Again, at that level, I'm going to have to place 2 power modules just to absorb the power needed for those different variations. And then if we go even one step further, if I go here to the device view, let's say I need some, let's see if we can find it here. Let's say I want a 120 volt digital input module. Well, 120 volts is a completely different voltage scheme than what our current 24 volts is running at. So when I go and drag and drop this into the configuration, it's automatically going to drop in a power segment that allows me to take the 24 volt backplane, convert it to 120 volts, so that now I have the power for these 120 volt inputs. Let's say I just need 6 of these. So there's my 620 volt input modules with all the power and breakdown associated that I need with it, all inside of the dimensions, all handled and created for me. And again, I can do all the same things. Looking at the results, I can look at the station, copy and paste the clipboard or the image out of the clipboard and use this information to generate a great bill of materials that now I can do a reference between whether somebody might want an axial line station versus an inline station. We can actually compare between the two because in certain situations, maybe inline might lay out a little bit better than axial line or vice versa. It really comes down to the applications and the customer's needs. And this is a great way of even showing customers how or showing yourself how much rail space you're really going to need or use depending on how you lay out your network. I have used this software many times during the Teams meeting. I just pull it up, share my screen, just exactly like we're doing right now, to go through to show the different configurations and the setups that you need and how to go through and set up the IO variations. And on top of this, you also have a full access to all the different IO variations from RS-232 to our counters and coders, all the power variations that you need. The software itself will never let you do something that you can't do. You can see here, I'm trying to add an analog signal off of the back of a 120 volt segment. It's not going to allow me to do that because it's something I really can't do. So the software tool is great for that because it will never let you do anything wrong. It won't allow it. And you can easily switch and change in between. So if I have this, I'm doing this station here in inline. Let's just simplify it here a little bit, get rid of the 120 stuff. So I'm doing this station here in inline. I can actually go ahead and switch it to an axial line smart element station. I could switch it to a standard axial line F station. I can switch back and forth between it very quickly so that when you're doing that comparison, you can just simply do it through a basic click of the IO modules. And you can even go to the level here, like with the Ethernet IP ones, you have different variations, whether you wanted XC for class 1 Div 2 approval, you wanted the standard EF for the DLR support, or the basic bus coupler for basic Ethernet IP applications. So you can go through and select what you need and what variations you need. Again, the software won't let you do anything wrong. And then the last thing, we've run into this a couple of applications where a customer or you as a salesman, you know that you want to make a selection of products, but maybe you don't want the certain products to show up. You want to black out a few products because maybe they're not part of the approved modules that you're trying to use inside of your application. Well, what you can do is you can go under product lists and you can go through and uncheck any module that you do not want the software to use. So let's say for digital inputs, you decided that, you know what, I don't need certain variations of modules. You just simply uncheck those modules and they will not be used as the association for the application that you need. This saves you time from having to drag and drop from specifically if you're using the device selection window. It keeps you from having to scroll through large selections of modules when maybe you only have 2 or 3 variants to choose from, because you can see here for the digital inputs, we have quite a few. So the software tool is great. It really helps you out. It even also includes the safety products. So if you're dealing with applications that you're doing with ProfiSafe or Safety Bridge, you can input the safety modules in there, and it is going to include some of our new intrinsically safe IO that we're going to be on the verge of launching here in the next couple months. So it's a great software tool. Please take the time, download it, check it out, and run through it. These are great tools because you can then simply file, save your project, save it as a name. There we go, project 25. And then you can email that project to me. I can review it. We can go over it together. We can talk about pricing, availability, things like that. And even if you're going one step further, you can also get to the point where you can export this project directly into Clip Project, so that if you're using Clip Project, you can launch the software into a Clip Project application. It'll create a rail with this IO station in there, and then you can go ahead and add your terminal blocks, your power supplies, your breakers, any and all of the other Phoenix components that we have available to create a really complete and total solution for the application. So if you haven't already, download it. It's a great tool. Any questions, feel free to give me a call. But that was pretty much a general overview of the software. I just kind of wanted to give you a, what can you do? What does it have? I don't know, Zach, if there's any questions that came up or.
Yeah, Jason, when you first started, you were on a web page. What web page was that?
Okay, that's a great question. Let me pull that back up. The web page that I started off was I just did the search for Project Plus for the software to hit the download for the software. But the cool thing about it is no matter what product you search, here we'll pick the Axeline F AI module. So when I go under this module, if I go under downloads, you're going to see all the data sheets, but you're also going to see the configuration software. So it's there under every IO module that we have, so that you can download it and use it and have the most up-to-date IO choices. The software itself will come up. If it's behind on date, it will actually connect to our website and say, I need an update. You click update and it'll update its database of available IO modules. So you don't have to worry about falling behind on whether you're using the latest and greatest product.
Awesome. That was the only question that was in there, Jason. So
Okay.
If anybody has any more questions, should they reach out to you directly? How can they find their local salesperson?
Well, if they have questions specifically on the software, I would say definitely just get a hold of me direct, jhaldeman@phoenixcontacts.com. Or even our standard tech service, if they want to contact them, they'll be able to help direct you into finding the software and loading it up for the first time. But I have no problems giving an additional tutorial if you get into areas that are more in depth than what I covered.
Okay, that's thank you very much, Jason. I just posted in the announcements a direct link to that page that you were on to make the download. It's from our catalog. So you should be good to go. Thank you again, Jason, for everything. If you haven't yet, please sign up for the upcoming webinars we have. Again, that's phoenixcontact.com/US-webinars. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And thank you, Jason.
Yeah, thank you.